So I mentioned in another of the clips about the concept of a North Star from the perspective of enhancing and developing our CEO, that it's really useful to perhaps consider having one. Now, if you're familiar with the work of Steve Peters and you've read The Chimp Paradox, this might sound familiar because we are in fact talking about something he calls the Stone of Destiny. And they're both the exact same concept. They are about creating for ourselves an overarching goal that, if you like, we can strive for and continue to develop and perhaps enhance as we move through our lives. So they're about the type of person we are trying to be as we live our lives and the kind of lives that we are trying to live. And there's a very important reason why this matters, and that is that once we've got an idea of what that might look like for us right now, bearing in mind that you can develop it, amend it, completely change it if you want, what it does is help give you something to aim for. And when you've got something clear to aim for, it's easier to tell whether you're on track or off track. It's easier to tell whether something you're doing is aligned with where you're trying to go, or actually it isn't. So actually, the definition that comes with having something clean and clear to go for provides, if you like, almost like some guardrails so that we can begin to get a much better sense of how are we doing against that overarching goal. Of course, when it comes to important things like North Star or Stone of Destiny, what they're also giving us is a real sense of purpose and value, our value, really allowing ourselves to appreciate who are we and what special stuff do we bring into the world. But I'm not going to lie, for many folks, it can feel like an awfully big question. And where on earth are you supposed to get started when perhaps you've never actually given this a moment's thought before? Or maybe you tried, but actually it just all felt a little bit too difficult. So what I'm going to share with you now is a lovely little exercise that I use for all sorts of things, but it also works beautifully here. And for anyone familiar with my work, you may have heard it before, but it's an oldie but a goodie. Here we go again. It's called What 3 Words? And the idea is this. You give yourself some time, you can take as much time as you like, to just reflect on 3 words, and just 3, that's all you've got, that you would most like it if people used to describe you. So in other words, how do you want to be described, and which 3 words are the words you want people to use when they're talking about you? Now, you can go about this several different ways. You can think about it right here, right now. You can think about it slightly more aspirationally at some point in the future, especially if you're doing some development work. Or you could think really big, like, reflecting on your whole entire life. Whatever works best for you, the important thing is you limit yourself to 3 words. And there's a reason for that. It's not just that I'm really mean. If you have to choose, it's going to make you a lot more selective about what you choose. And therefore, that's going to give you a really good idea as to what matters to you. What do you value? Because that's what you're going to pick. And it's a really nice way of getting a really good snapshot right to the heart of things, right to what really matters to you. Because how we want to be seen matters to us. Now, once you've got those 3 words, I am going to be mean and I'm going to say, okay, that's lovely. But what I'd now like you to do is decide of the 3, which is the most important, because that's the one that you're going to need to work with first. Now, you might be wondering, why can't I do all 3? And don't worry, you will get there. But actually, for most of us, working with them one at a time is quite enough work in itself, because here's what has to happen next. If we have chosen a word that's meaningful, it's typically a word like, I want to be thought of as kind, or I want to be thought of as, compassionate, or really warm, or I want to be seen as an expert in a particular field, or whatever it is. But because those words have meaning, they're typically not the type of things that we can go around telling other people that we are. Or I find that if you do go around saying things like, oh, I'm really compassionate, other people kind of give you funny looks and begin to wonder whether that's actually not the case. Instead, They are words that if we want people to describe us that way, we're going to have to show them. And not just once, but repeatedly. And not just when we're in a good place, having a good day and everything's going swimmingly, because that's very easy, but crucially, when perhaps we're not in quite such a good headspace, when perhaps we're not having quite such a good day, or when perhaps someone has really annoyed us or upset us or caused us some inconvenience. Because it's those moments where if we can continue to be the person we want to be, we are most likely to be seen in that way. So it's about clarity and then consistency. And here we'd have to say, okay, well, if I do want to be seen as something like kind or compassionate or whatever it is you're choosing, well, what exactly does that look like? What are people that we describe that way? What are their defining features? What makes us describe them that way? Because the chances are there's going to be a series of behaviors or things that we notice about them that we interpret as meaning that, or evidencing that quality. So then you'll want to be asking, well, am I doing enough of that? How might I do more of that so it becomes even clearer? And are there any times where perhaps I'm not that, then I might want to learn how to hang on to that, even in those slightly more tricky moments, so I can still be my best me. So here we move into the space where we're looking at our choices, our behaviors, our actions, even the words and the language that we choose. And it provides a deliberate focus for us to explore and begin to take first steps into making us even more of the person we aspire to be, strengthening our brand, strengthening CEO us as we go. So there you are. What 3 words? I'll leave you in peace now to go away and have a think about which ones you are going to choose.